I could try to rejoin, but
actually, I didn't go on the app this time, just because I think that may have been why I was getting bounced constantly, because it's newer. The StreamYard app is newer for iOS, so yeah.
Hello, sorry, we're live. Hello, everyone.
hello.
We are here. Sorry, we're a little late. We've been having some technical difficulties. So, but everybody got here amazingly. So thank you, everybody, for coming. Except for Faith. We're still hoping Faith will come. So, welcome. Hi, Paul. Oh, hi, Mom. So, yeah, thank you guys for coming. So, did everybody finish the play?
I did. I actually, when we did our sprints, I was almost done. I just had like a little bit left, and which was nice.
Yeah,
to accomplish it during that time. Yeah,
I know. You guys all got it practically done during the sprints, didn't you? And I know my mom finished it really early too. She learned how to use Kindle so that she could read with us.
Oh,
Nice.
awesome.
Go, Mom. So, all right. Well, do you guys want to start off with some like general thoughts about it? Like, what were your general thoughts? Like, if you rate, what would your rating be? Do you want to start, Carla? Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Emma.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, that's fine. I would rate it highly. I did put it in my 23 top reads of the year video. Just because I thought it was such a lovely thing to read at this time of year, and I liked that it took kind of a different approach, because like I never really thought of like, you know, what all the people in Bethlehem were doing as Christ was being born. So it was so unique to like look at them, but then you know, kind of know what's happening in the background. I thought it was really unique.
Yes. That's how I felt about it too. I didn't really think about, I guess, how it would be like today. Like, if Christ came today, like, everybody wouldn't notice, even if they were talking about, I mean, nobody is like, there are people waiting for the Messiah. I shouldn't say nobody, but there were people talking about it, like just the news of the day. Oh yeah, there's going to be a Messiah coming, and they didn't even realize it was happening, you know?
Yeah, that was one of the, and that you say that, you know, that was, they were expecting it, because Daniel's prophecies, you know, he gave the timeline. And so they had seen the, you know, the rise and fall of the empires. And so they knew, you know, it had confirmed Daniel's prophecies, and they knew that the time was close. Jasmine Biggs, the editor-in-chief of An Unexpected Journal, she shared a sketch of what was it? It was Jose and Maria, like a man and a woman, like on some street in the U.S. Well, not the U.S., but like what it would look like today. Like it had like a sign like "Reelect Herod," and just different things like what would you recognize? Who would you be in that situation? We all think that we would be someone who would be helping the family, or that we'd be part of Team Good. But I don't know that a lot of us would. You know, I think we would be like other people are just busy about, especially in that circumstance, too busy about our own stuff and missing, you know, a young family that's needs some help or a little bit of care.
Yeah.
I loved the twist at the end, because I hadn't quite finished this part during our live sprints, of the Jewish gentleman who's like been talking the whole time. And at the very end, you know, Mary says, "What's your name?" And he says, "I'm Joseph of Arimathea." It's like, oh, look, we know that name. Oh. It was a fun last twist.
Yes.
So, see, not everyone in the room was completely ignoring it. Some people, you know, were looking to pay attention. So.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Oh no, Faith, I'm sorry. Let us know if we can help. I can send another link or something.
Victoria's on her phone.
Yeah.
I had trouble too. Apparently, it's just the day for.
Oh man. And Paul enjoyed it. Yay. That's great. Yes. That was so great. Their speeches.
I was hoping we'd get a little more of the wise men towards the end. Like we did get like a final scene with them, but it was very short. But yeah, the beginning was so beautiful and poetic.
So
Yeah.
I didn't listen to this. How long is this play when it's like actually acted out?
It was, I mean, it took everybody here like what, an hour to read. So
no, I mean if they were doing it, like if they were
doing it.
Yeah, if they were actually doing it as a play.
It's like a. What was that, Victoria?
I would guess about an hour. I wouldn't imagine it would be a lot more. I think part of what you're that part would be so really short.
Hang on. Let me turn off. I have like a fan going. Let me turn it off really quick because I can't hear very well over it.
So I guess it would be like if they were going to do it during a service, like a Christmas service, it would fit then.
Oh yeah.
It was probably one like block on the radio, schedule. I would imagine it would fit into like a single.
Oh, that's a good point. Since it was for radio, they probably wouldn't have wanted it to go over like a time slot.
Yeah. It is so funny, like reading these radio plays, like because when you don't usually read radio plays, like I don't know, somehow that's a genre of entertainment of the past. I feel like it's just kind of faded. Like you don't go back and reference them, but her writing is so good. And it was so fun to discover The Man Born to be King as well. I thought this was like the perfect corollary to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and this one actually fit Advent. I'm gonna send you another link, Faith, just in case. Maybe a different link would help. Where do you want it, Voxer or Instagram? And my mom said she loved the part with Joseph of Arimathea. I think that's what she was referring to.
I'm trying to remember, in The Man Born to be King, wasn't the first play about Christmas? I need to go back and reread it, obviously. Most of the plays were about Christ's life and ministry, but I feel like the first play was more about Mary, and I just can't remember.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, because and I remember there was like a John the Baptist play.
Oh.
Where it was talking about like families going and getting baptized with John the Baptist. Right. And then I think Jesus came to John the Baptist in that play. Like that was the start of his ministry. But I can't remember if that was like the first one or the second one. Anyways. Okay, I'll send it via Voxer. Does anybody else have thoughts on like in general what they thought of the play?
Is that you? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, this whole play was like an exercise in dramatic irony, I think is what it's called, where the audience knows something, but like the characters in the play, they don't know what the audience knows, and so it just was like a big exercise in dramatic irony, which I always enjoy. I really enjoy that device, and I thought it just worked so perfectly with the inn and all the people who didn't understand what was going on, but something extremely significant is going on. But you as the reader know what's going on. So I thought that was just a really creative and smart way to write the scene.
Yes, I think that really struck me too, Victoria, the first time I read it, was the irony. And I thought, this is such a clever play. Of course it is. It's Dorothy L. Sayers.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
Yes. I'm so glad you guys all enjoyed it. Although I know, Carla, you mentioned that there was one thing about it. You were saying that they wouldn't actually have stayed in an inn. They would have stayed with family. And I thought, that never even occurred to me.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was I guess I should have went back and read this, but I never realized until recently that when the angel came to Mary, he told her that her cousin Elizabeth was pregnant. And so she goes immediately to Elizabeth and stays there for 6 months, until almost the time when the baby was born. So she's conceived, she's going off, and she comes back pregnant. And so everybody would have thought that, she had hooked up with someone else. Mm-hmm. And they would have known that it wasn't Joseph's son. I mean, they would have known that for a fact. And I don't know. I sometimes, the one part where I can't remember which passage this is in, but Jesus says that, this is a great mystery, like love between a man and a woman. And sometimes I think, is he thinking back about how Joseph treated Mary? That even in spite of, all this, what everybody thought, Joseph stuck by her, even to the point of him looking like, I'm sure people thought he was a fool, for marrying her.
Yeah. Judging from the outside.
Yeah.
If you didn't have an angel come talk to you, that is what you would think.
Exactly.
Did you make it, Faith? I think we can hear you, maybe.
Yeah, we could do it a little bit ago.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, but for some reason I'm getting an error now for my camera, which has happened. It's really echoing though.
It's really echoing? Oh.
Yeah.
We can't hear any echo.
And there's a delay.
Oh.
There's a real delay.
Okay. Well, we can hear you just fine, and it sounds good. So, do you want to share your thoughts on the play?
It's going to be so bizarre because there's like a 30-second delay.
Not for us.
I'm going crazy.
Oh, okay. Don't go crazy. If it's not working, don't worry about it. You don't have to talk. Okay. Good. So we've got our general thoughts out of the way. I've been doing an Advent study this December, and that was really fun to read along with this because I've been reading the prophecies about Jesus and the new covenant and all the prophecies that people were given before Christ. And that's why I can't remember his name, but there was a man in the temple who was a very faithful believer, and he was promised that he would see the Christ child before he died. And so he met Jesus in the temple right after he was born. So I've been reading all of this setup for Jesus's coming, and it's been just so meaningful. So it's been really wonderful.
Simon and Anna, right?
What was it?
Simon and Anna were the ones that saw Jesus in the temple.
That might have been. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was Anna and Simeon, right? Simeon in the temple.
Okay, thank you. I think it was.
That's why we do the 8 days. If you're Catholic, we do the octave of Christmas. Isn't that when they presented Jesus in the temple? Or somehow it's tied.
Yeah.
No, wait. The presentation is February 2nd, though. Wait a second. I'm so confused all of a sudden.
I think it's all the way to Epiphany is what the Christmas feast is.
Yeah, but we have the octave. You have the Christmas octave, and then you also have the to Epiphany. And so and I forget why I thought the octave was after 8 days you had to present the baby in the temple, but then for some reason February 2nd is the presentation. So I'm confused. I don't remember now. But yeah.
That would be right though.
I do know Simeon and Anna were the two prophets that saw him.
Okay, so the circumcision is on the 8th day. The presentation the circumcision is on the 8th day.
That makes sense.
The woman has to do her purification. It's 2 different days. There's one, I think one is 30 days and the other is 60 days, depending on if she has a boy or a girl. But we're actually, and again, I'm not like liturgical stuff is not my thing, but we're in the 12 days of Christmas now, right?
Yeah, but there's also in the Catholic Church anyway, they talk about the octave. I don't know. My church emphasizes the octave of Christmas.
Wow, coming from a low church all my life, I'm like, what?
I've never heard of that, but that's just because I also, I come from a very non-liturgical background.
So it does. I think it's for instance, Hanukkah is 8 days. There's something special about 8 days, and
there's an octave of Easter.
4th century, they've celebrated the octave of Christmas.
Yeah, Hanukkah this was during the Maccabean revolt, and when they were purifying the temple, they purified it, but the lamp had to stay lit. They only had enough oil for 1 day, but it stayed for 8. And so the 8th day represents like new beginnings. That's what it.
Oh, so that makes
the symbolism.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Emma, did you say something about Easter?
Oh, just the Easter. There's an octave of Easter as well.
Oh,
so I think it must be what Carla is saying, that it must be that you celebrate for a whole week and then the next week is a new beginning. But anyway, I don't even know if that was in this play and why it came up or anything. I'm sorry I can't get my camera to work, but at least the sound is working now. So
yay! Yeah. I'm so glad you're able to join us, Faith.
So I thought that, my opinion, I enjoyed the play, but I thought it kind of laugh out loud funny in a couple of situations. But I think because she was doing it for the public, it was so blatant. Like she was really like just spoon feeding certain ideas to the like. She says something about the mix of Greek and Jewish, it kind of comes together. And I forget now what the quote was. Yeah. There were just a couple of lines that were just so just out there, just so obvious. That I thought it was a little funny, actually. But I really liked all her stage directions because it was a radio play, but she gave lots of stage directions. And I could really kind of picture how she wanted it staged. And I thought that part was really interesting, how she was working it. So, and the thing about the inn, I just read somewhere, and I can't remember where, how inns worked back then. They were big open areas because people would bring a lot of like caravans, right? So there'd be a lot of camels and donkeys and things like that. And so the inns were open air, and you in the center, I think you kept all your animals, and then people would just camp out around it. And it was considered an inn because I guess it would bring you food, but it wasn't like an inn where it was a building where you would go to an inn. And I get the point about it. She'd be with family, but if during a census, when you have so many people coming, you might have had to use the inn, which is what the people doing the caravans and that sort of thing would have used. And I cannot remember where. I just read it a few months ago somewhere.
Yeah,
go ahead.
The one article I read said that the Greek word used there was upper room. There was no room in the upper room. It's the same one as the upper room of when Jesus was, like the Last Supper. And so this, I don't know that Bethlehem, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that Bethlehem was the main train route. Who knows? Maybe it was, but
I wondered
the word itself. Yeah. And it'd be interesting to me to see how other translations translate that.
I feel like going and getting my Bible right now. Because do you think that they would do that? The gospel writer would do that to show that the birthplace where he was where the place where he was born, is the same place where the Last Supper takes place, like tying it together linguistically.
Well,
yeah, just symbolically.
I don't know that was. I think they were. I never thought of that. That's a good point. I mean, I think they were just, talking about what happened. Let me look at Luke.
When we read the Man Born to Be King, it was really interesting to read in the notes about how Dorothy Sayers has gone and read the original Greek and done such thorough research to just try to get the sequence of everything just right. So I bet she was very much aware of the linguistics and the translations.
Yeah, she was so interesting because she learned, I think, 5 languages or something, and that's how she translated Dante. I mean, she really was. She enjoyed her research.
Okay. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I'm Googling.
I'm trying to find what verse is that.
I'm feeling the same.
My Bible's downstairs. Wait a second, I have a Bible over here.
Hold on, let me look.
I only have the Old Testament here. Yeah, I only have an Old Testament.
Let's see, that is Luke 2:7. So let me look. Luke 2. Oops, wait. I'm on 1.
There was no place for them in the inn. But of course, he wasn't born in the inn, right? He was born not in the inn. He was born in a stable. Mm-hmm. So that wouldn't. So what I was thinking doesn't make sense.
There's the son there, major, because there was not a place for them in the. It's Cataluma.
Oh yeah, I just found
lodging. That. Yeah, a lodging place, a guest chamber, or guest room.
Yeah, the story of the mob man. So there was no room. So with Cataluma, the word used in the Nativity story, and interestingly enough, also used to denote the upper room of the Last Supper, was really a different thing altogether. Most people at the time lived in a one-room structure. In that room, there was a place for living and sleeping and a fireplace. Additionally, the animals were brought in for the night to the same space. For warmth and protection. I mean, I don't know if you want me to read the whole thing. But anyway, something fell downstairs. Anyway, yeah, but they weren't at the inn. They had to go to the stable, right? The whole point was that they were rejected. That they,
One thing I really liked in the play was that when the shepherds came back and they were talking about when the star rose, and they described it as if the sun was rising because it was so bright. But then I also liked how when the angels came, the sheep weren't afraid at all, but the shepherds were really afraid. And I feel like they were kind of, because Christ is the good shepherd, and later when the shepherd, one of them gives him his crook, I felt like that was a fun, kind of symbol that she played with there.
That's so cute. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, of course, they wouldn't be afraid of their own shepherd. That's great. Like Faith says, on the nose, but for me, I love that kind of stuff because I don't necessarily, I don't know, I like on the nose. Because a lot of times the point she's making, it's, I've never really thought about it like that.
I have to find it, and of course my Kindle is on low. So I'm trying to plug it in right now so I can look it up. having all sorts of technical issues.
Okay, so
Wow,
let's see.
that's
So
interesting.
10:33. So I'm just gonna look and see. Let's see.
Do you guys have any other like quotes or things that you really stood out to you? They were like, I have to talk about this.
I think for me it was more like just realizing that everybody had their own opinion about how things are going to be, and just because we have an opinion doesn't mean that's the way things actually are. Should probably be a little more open to recognizing that we don't actually know everything. Okay, so I went to, going back to the end thing, went to the story of the Good Samaritan. It's also in Luke. This is Luke 10:34, and so Luke, or the Good Samaritan, was a merchant, right? So they were along some sort of merchant route. They went to an inn. That's a different word. It's padachian, which is like an inn or a hotel. So there's different words. Luke uses different words. So he's referring to, there's no room for him in the guest room or the family house. If it was like an actual inn, he would have been using padachian. This is the Pandashian.
Oh, wow. What were you reading from?
The Good Samaritan.
Good Samaritan?
I have this, Luke 10. So I have this app. It's super cool. It's called the Hebrew Greek Interlinear Bible by Hebrew Tech, and so it's like you can see the Greek with right on top and the English right on top of it. Pull up the Strong's. It's only available on Android though.
Oh darn!
But if you have a laptop, it's worth like getting a tablet just for this app. It's pretty awesome.
That is.
I gotta go. My poor husband is watching our grandkids, so I'm gonna go down and see. Can you hear that crying?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let me put it on mute and see why the little almost 2-year-old is freaking out. So I'll be back.
Okay. Oh, hang on one second. My husband's running to the store. But if anybody else has any quotes or anything, please share.
Oh, so I guess it's you and me, Victoria. So what was your favorite part?
I think I was definitely poetically inspired by the Three Wise Men passages. I feel like that's where I highlighted all my quotes. It was in the first little kind of like prologue, and then I don't think I highlighted a lot after that, just because I was more like engrossed in the goings on of the actual like the action. But
yeah,
I feel like the wise men speeches like are worth reading alone because they're just like poetically just very beautifully constructed.
Yes. I know. Emma mentioned this when we were on reading sprints, that each wise man kind of had his own concern that he was really looking for, and it was just really refreshing. And I thought, oh yeah, it's like every kind of person is represented here.
Oh yeah, it was like justice and wisdom and something I can't remember now, all three, but justice and wisdom and maybe peace or something, I don't remember.
Knowing that he wasn't alone was one of them.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. That's right.
Oh yeah, so Faith, I don't know if this was what Faith was talking about, but when does not Aeschylus speak somewhere of a Zeus that should know human suffering? Like, I liked it when she said stuff like that. But for somebody who thinks about these things on the regular, that probably is like really obvious. But it was like, oh, because C.S. Lewis has talked too about what was that? Or somebody? Go ahead, Emma.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Sorry, I turned off my video because I think the LT will be better with just audio. But anyway, that quote was it's wisdom, justice, and service. About the Three Kings. But yeah, I did love that so much because it was like wisdom, justice, and service alone aren't like enough. Like they need to be grounded in God, and all three were seeking God. And yeah, I loved at the end. The Three Kings said, "I looked for wisdom, and behold, the wisdom of the innocent. I looked for power, and behold, the power of the helpless. I looked for the manhood in God, and behold, a God-made man." So yeah, I loved that poetry of those three and the symbolism of them as well.
Yes. You can just tell that Dorothy L. Sayers talked to a lot of people. Like she wasn't the kind of, I guess, person that she wasn't the kind of scholar that didn't have, like, she had like her ears to the ground. She kind of heard what people are like. Like she kind of understood human nature. She was
more normal than I think a lot of her contemporaries. Like a lot of, I don't know about all the Inklings, but Lewis and Tolkien, they were professors, they were academics, and she was an academic. She had the training and the education, but she worked in advertising,
right?
And I think she was just more like in touch with everyday people than maybe some of her contemporaries, maybe.
Yes,
that makes sense.
I had a question for you, Victoria. So do you notice that when you have students, your music students, if they have a background in like poetry, do they pick up on music better? Have you noticed that at all?
I work with primarily like upper elementary, so I don't know that any of them have a great background in, but like the correlation I would say is the ones that are readers and read a lot tend to be they're a little bit more successful with reading music. It's usually like it's always kind of correlated with reading. If they're kids that read, then they do well in my class because they read music well. But I don't know about like syntax and poetry necessarily, because
what about
I work with younger kids, but possibly.
So I guess like nursery rhymes. I mean, if their parents read, because I've read that like if parents read nursery rhymes to kids, that helps them get the rhythm of kind of words and language. So I guess maybe I didn't know what age you taught. For some reason, I was thinking you taught a little bit older, I guess. But
yeah. But no, there's definitely a correlation between what they've grown up with and what they're exposed to.
Oh no! What? Another one bites the dust.
This is just so crazy. Oh, he's climbing too. The little guy. I think he needs a nap.
Oh.
Anyway, about the play, I kind of missed what you guys were talking about, but I did like the way she tried to represent all the different sort of aspects of the culture, like the Greek gentleman. There we go.
I'm so sorry.
And I really liked that at the end, the Jewish gentleman turned out to be Joseph of Arimathea. I thought that was like a nice tying up of things, or like, and then I wanted to get what did you think of the merchant? Because I almost felt like the merchant was sort of the comic relief, but also kind of a bad stereotype of Jews. Like, but then contrasted that was the Jewish gentleman. But I don't know. The merchant kind of I don't know if he bothered me, or I just found him a little. I don't know. I guess it would depend on the actor. What's that?
You felt like he was kind of stereotypical.
Yeah, or just kind of, yeah. It was a little bit out there. I don't know.
And the Pharisee also seemed to me, he was super uptight and super rigid and puritanical.
Yes.
I guess what I meant by she just kind of was clubbing you over the head with these ideas, sort of, too.
But they were.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say they were, though. I mean, that's the way the Pharisees were, and there's people like that today, too.
Yeah.
And I don't know about England so much at that time, but if you read those words here of the Pharisee, I think people could probably identify with some religious leaders of today that it sounds pretty.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
similar
And
to.
I mean, the word has come to mean that. But who was it who was a Pharisee that actually liked Jesus and came? Like, there are some better ones too. Not to be a
Nicodemus.
Pharisee was not to be, an evil person or something. It was but some of them, weren't good Pharisees. Is what I mean. You could be a good Pharisee, but there was a lot of hypocrisy and power, control and stuff.
Well, that's kind of what they had developed as a group. That's kind of what they had developed into being. Because Jesus said that. He said, they are teaching the law, but don't follow their example.
Right.
And
yeah.
Josephus said that they were a very small but powerful group, and they were dictating. There were a lot of different opinions about how the law was to be interpreted, and the Messiah, what the apostles believed, and the reason that they followed Jesus is because he met some of those interpretations. Like they had, if you look through the Second Temple period about the different intertestamental writings, you see how the thought evolved into seeing the Messiah as God come as man. You see that in the book of Enoch. The book of Jubilees has the angel of the presence. There's just a lot of that writing. So it wasn't this idea of a divine Messiah was not out of the wheelhouse for Jewish thought. It wasn't in the wheelhouse for all people, but it didn't. And honestly, if he had been backing up the Pharisees, they probably would have gone along with him, but he was calling them out as hypocrites, and so they didn't like him and they wanted to get rid of him. But it was the Pharisees that were the rabbinic leaders that basically, after the destruction of the temple in 70 AD, Judaism became something completely different than it was when Jesus was, walking the earth. It wasn't what he followed. Rabbinic Judaism developed after that, and it was the Pharisees that kind of reformed it. It's like this is what we want it to be, and
yeah. I feel like when I read her character, I felt like she must have known people that kind of fit these stereotypes, and she just kind of of course the merchant would be concerned about the taxes, something like that. Or of course the Pharisee would be thinking about, I don't know, he would be not concerned with the same things that the common man was concerned with. And that's kind of what I just felt like it was a feel of different people that she must have met, that she was inserting in there. So, yeah.
The radio play, I don't know that subtlety works as well with the radio. I think Dorothy Sayers would have she wants you to get a flavor for each person, and it is a little bit obvious of what she's pushing for each person. But if I was listening, I don't know about you guys, but when I listen to things, I don't pick up as easily as when I'm reading my eyeballs. So as a radio play, she might have just wanted it to be really obvious.
you make a good point, because you don't have any verbal or visual cues. You can't see, so it has to be completely characterized with words. But I was just thinking, when you're talking about that, also is British. She's British, and so that's one of the things that Holly Ordway said. They're like they have very like understated and ironic humor in general. And
that's true.
So there might be actually more irony in there that we don't pick up on because we aren't familiar with, British culture from 100 years ago. You're probably right, Christy. There's probably are people that she's ripping on in the play that we don't catch.
Oh, that's a good.
I'm sorry. I'm missing what Carla's saying because it sounds really good. However, my husband is trying to watch our 2 grandchildren. I'd forgotten that we were going to watch them because my daughter and husband and son-in-law went out to. Their father is visiting from California, and his father. Anyway, it's complicated, and you can hear them crying, and he just can't. They only want grandma, so I have to go. So okay. I'm so sorry.
Thank you for coming, Faith.
So I'll talk to you later, and I'm sorry it's been such a such a catastrophe. I can't get the camera to work and all that stuff. But anyway, it just wasn't meant to be. So Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year. Thank you so much. And I'm so sorry I missed it. Maybe I'll try to watch it later. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye, Faith. Poor Faith.
Okay, can I just say, I think this is a first where I haven't been the one with all the technical difficulties because usually it's me.
Yes, you figured it out. You have figured them all out, Carla. Apparently, it was the iPad that's what needs to be used.
Yeah. Mine literally always works. I've done this. They're just.
It's bizarre today, guys. I really think this is spiritual warfare. And Emma texted and she said, I lost cell service. I don't even know if this text will send. And so she said she'd pop back in if she could. But I think we've almost just about covered it since it's a pretty short play. So, but yeah, let us know in the chat if you have any other comments that you wanted to make about the play. Yeah, let's see.
Have you guys read? I know, Chris, you've read all 4 plays. I'm reading. I'm in the middle of the Just Vengeance. I don't know if that's the right title, and it's so weird.
Yes.
So different. It's very weird.
Is Just Vengeance? No, that's Devil to Pay. Oh, is Just Vengeance the one about the war?
It's about the airman and the
that's the one out of the 4 that I was like, I don't really understand this play very well. The other ones I loved all of them, but that one
I think it's really interesting. It's like kind of him at the pearly gates, like talking about like life and death. It's very philosophical, but it's also very odd as well.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna have to read that because I was telling Christy ahead of time, I'm like doing a crash course in modern philosophy, but H.G. Wells, I just picked up one of his books. It's War in the Air, and it has something to do with that. So maybe I'll read his book there and then Dorothy Sayers' play and see if there's any connections in between the 2 of them. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah. You'll have to let us know if you find anything. Voxers. Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, Victoria, because I meant to ask if you guys were reading any of the other ones, because I think Emma mentioned that she also was going to read some of the other ones. But
yeah, so if somebody watches this afterwards, what Christy is talking about is the book is in the 4 Sacred Plays, or this play that we're doing is in the 4 Sacred Plays. So there's 3 other ones.
Yes, which it's only 99 cents on Kindle. So if you enjoyed this play or enjoyed hearing us talk about it, definitely you can just get it for 99 cents and read it yourself. And they're pretty quick. I think they're pretty easy reading.
Yeah, so. I'm trying to read that, but I'm a little bit behind I'm only on my second. I'm wondering said that the native.
Yes. I do love Devil to Pay and Zeal for Thy House. I think it's the other one. I loved all three of those. But I think this one is my favorite just because of the subject matter. But the Devil to Pay, like I said, inspired Faustathon. I loved it. It was so good. And the other one, it was like you were learning so much about this cathedral because it's Zeal for Thy House it's like the architect in charge of a cathedral that this play was being the play was dedicated to this cathedral, and that's why she wrote it. And I learned so much about it, but it was a couple years ago now that I read it, so I don't remember a lot of the details, but it was really good. So, well, awesome. You guys have any closing thoughts before we let everybody get back to their weekend?
I liked it, and I'm. So, what is next Advent going to be? Is it more Dorothy Sayers, or
Good
are we going to find something else? You have Lent set, right?
Yes. So our Lent readathon is going to be The Long Loneliness by Dorothy Day. I think that's her name, Dorothy Day. And she is the author that got Faith back into faith. She had left the church, but she read Dorothy Day's books, and that brought her back to the church. So I thought,
wow,
I need to read her then, because that sounds amazing. So so this next book is one that Faith chose, and yeah, I'm really excited to check that out. So I hope you guys will join us for our Lent.
Okay, so I have a question. Because this is a book rather than a play, are we going to do like a Discord something for Lent? So Charlotte and I did a Facebook group for the Advent read along we did in her devotional. I did 2 Advent read throughs too, but and that was interesting because people did different things. Like we had some weekly Zoom chats with that, and so some people did the Zoom and some people did more the Facebook group. But it was.
It's good to have a text chat somewhere. I think we should. I don't know why I didn't think about it this time. I think I don't get on Discord very much, so I kind of forget. But
I have a hard time logging into it sometimes. I do have. That's my issue. So I didn't even go to look to see if it was going on because I just have sometimes it's a hard time for me logging in, but. Yeah. So okay, that was my question.
We'll talk amongst ourselves and we'll figure out a text chat. Maybe on Voxer, maybe on Instagram, maybe on Discord. We'll figure out a text chat for the Lent read along.
I have a Discord server that I don't mind putting a section there. I don't know why I didn't do it for Advent, but they didn't have one.
I didn't think about even asking you
either.
So.
But I'd be happy to do that in mine.
Thank you.
Does that seem to work best for people? Is Discord?
Yeah, I think people like Discord. It's like it's nice because you can just do a dedicated thread to it in someone's Discord, and then you can even retire it, afterwards if you want to clean it up afterwards. So, yeah, I think they're pretty convenient. Okay. That's a good idea. Thank you, guys.
I need to do some Discord organization on mine because it's the one thing I usually let Discord kind of fall by the wayside. So I'll clean it up and I can do a Lent spot in mine.
Thank you, Victoria.
No problem.
That is so helpful. That is work, so I really appreciate you doing that. I just know I could not handle it, so I really appreciate you doing that.
It is the one platform that I probably forget about the most. But I have one. I need to use it.
All right. I think this was a success. Thank you all so much for joining us. It seems like everybody did have thoughts about the play, even if they had also criticisms. So Thank you so much for honoring me and reading this with me, and thank you for being co-hosts, Victoria and Carla and Faith and Emma. And we will talk to you guys very soon. Hopefully we'll be announcing our Lent readathon officially pretty soon. So thank you, everyone. Bye.